Yeah, there's a question here from Wendy that I think you in your coverage of this touch upon. So I'll bring it up here. She asks, so would the destruction of the Voting Rights Act not impact the redrawn map because of coalition districts? Of course, there's a case before the Supreme Court right now that would dismantle what's remaining of the Voting Rights Act. But I think you already, in some of your comments and in your writing, addressed this, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the judge here actually cited the Constitution and not the Voting Rights Act, right? So I don't necessarily think that what the Supreme Court does would have, in this separate case, would have bearing on the Texas situation. Is that right?
Yeah. So Wendy's actually asking a slightly different question. You're absolutely right, though, Aaron. That so there's this other case out of Louisiana where, as Aaron was mentioning, the Supreme Court could wind up completely gutting what remains of the Voting Rights Act. But no matter what happens in that case, it really can't have an impact on the Texas case because the Texas case was not ruled on based on the Voting Rights Act. Plaintiffs, I think, did make some arguments based on the VRA, but the judge only ruled on the basis of the 14th and 15th Amendments. So totally separate areas of law. That said, this is a huge what if. It's really too much to get into on this chat, but if the Supreme Court does wind up gutting the VRA, then all kinds of districts are going to be basically the GOP can carve them up. And so those are districts that are currently protected by the Voting Rights Act, which are generally majority minority districts. They don't strictly have to have a majority. That's not the standard, but they usually are. And so these minority districts would be completely vulnerable if the VRA is shredded. The coalition districts already lack that protection, according to the Fifth Circuit. The protection of coalition districts, it's not a completely clear-cut matter. I would be surprised to see at this point any court out in the land saying coalition districts are protected under the VRA. But look, if the court rules against the VRA, we'll have a lot to say about it then. I'm a little hesitant to predict. I know a lot of people are very down on this possibility. I'm certainly pessimistic. But let's see what they do. And Aaron, I know we only have a few minutes left, but we had that question earlier about the Tennessee special I think we should get to.
Sure.
So as folks may know, December 2, right after Thanksgiving, there is a special election in Tennessee's 7th congressional district. This is a conservative seat in Middle Tennessee that the GOP heavily gerrymandered, but it's possible, just possible, that this gerrymander could come back to bite them in the ass because there used to be one blue district based around the city of Nashville. And after the most recent round of redistricting, Republicans carved up Nashville between 3 districts. And so that gave them an extra red seat, but it also meant adding a lot of blue turf from Nashville to these other sprawling rural districts. And one of them is the 7th district.